Raila Odinga kama mgonjwa akiwa katika ICU.
So that is why God had to remove him from the scenario.
Hiya guys, back to our YouTube channel. Thanks for your great support. In this video, I don't want you to swipe up. Please ensure like hii video ili iweze kufikia watu wengi. Na wale wageni ambao wanatazama kwa mara ya kwanza, please kwa mioyo mikunjufu ensure mnajiunga na sisi kwa kubonyeza alama ya subscription pale chini. Asanteni kwa hizo likes, asanteni kujiunga na sisi. You see guys, tunaarifiwa ya kwamba Raila Odinga hakuuawa na mtu yeyote hapa nchini Kenya. Hakuna mtu ama kuna mwanadamu alihusika na kifo ya Raila Amolo Odinga. Unajua rumors by the way kwa mitandao ukiangalia, wengi ama percentage ya juu ya wananchi wanasema Raila Odinga aliuawa. Siku zake hazikuwa zimefika. Percentage ya juu. And now tunataka tusikize vizuri. Unajua moments ambazo Gen Z walianza movement yao ili kukomboa nchi yao ya Kenya. Kumbuka ilifika mahali ambapo walisimamishwa, hawakuendelea tena. Kitu ya kwanza wali occupy the CBD Nairobi CBD. Hao vijana waliingia pale, biashara zikafungwa. Ya pili wakaplan ku occupy the parliament, wakasucceed. Number 3 wakaplan ku occupy state house ili kuondoa a rotten regime. Hapo ndo movement ya hawa vijana ilifikia tamatini. Hapo ndo Raila Odinga aliingililia kati, akaenda negotiation with the President William Samoei Arap Ruto. Na hiyo movement ikasimamia pale. Raila Odinga akajaribu kutuliza hawa vijana. So tunaambiwa kwamba Mungu alikuwa ametumanisha vijana kukomboa nchi ya Kenya. But Raila Odinga akaisimamisha. Sio mambo yangu. I want you just to listen for it. And show me like video. Na nasema thanks for your great support. Unajua huyu ni Pastor Ndura wa Irunge is telling us kwamba bado Mungu anaendelea kusorora wengine. Iwapo kuna mwenye ataonekana tena atakuja kuzuia hawa vijana 2027. Then anaenda kumchomoa. Ili asije akazuia hawa vijana kutetea nchi yao, kukomboa nchi yao 2027.
The exit Raila is a major breakthrough because one impediment has gone. Another one is supposed to go. For Kenya to be free, there are several impediments that must go so that Kenya can have a spiritual freedom. When they went there, when you see them going to harvest that spirit, they are causing, they are defiling the nation. They are defiling the breakthroughs that can come to Kenya for the sake of the revival, for the sake of the kingdom that God wants to institute, because that was a kingdom that was meant to stop the kingdom of God to come. So that is why God had to remove him from the scenario. And he had to use this man, Kalonzo, to announce his bid at Uhuru Park, because Uhuru Park is a portal. It's a spiritual portal. Like Mount Kenya is a spiritual portal. Lake Victoria is a spiritual portal. Mama Ngina Street in Mombasa is a spiritual portal. And somehow Katondo is a spiritual portal. So the exit of Raila opened a door for the freedom. You can see the religious, the spiritual atmosphere will be more freer. Remember when the Gen Zs were rising up to remove the regime, it is him who came and stopped. Because the regime that was supposed to be removed is a demonic regime that they are part of. And these Gen Zs were coming to remove this regime from power. So he came and rose up and stood against the removal. He was the one who stopped the removal at the expense of many thousands of people who died, at the expense of many businesses that went down, at the expense of a liberation that was meant to be in Kenya. Now Kenya would be free. Kenya would be worshiping God freely. But now because he got in, a man known to be a liberator, a man known to be that person who fights for people. And these children were fighting for their rights. A man who is known to be a fighter for the freedom and freedom of people, he came and stopped the fighters of the freedom, instead joined the hands with the oppressors of the freedom. Now you can see what kind of a man he was. He was not truly for the sake of the freedom fighting. He was for the sake of preserving the kingdom that is known to the few. So therefore, the exit of this man is an opening of a new dimension of politics in Kenya. And for the first time now, you will find all this, the struggle now that will come, many people will rise up. The people the nobodies will come strongly, business will come strongly, and the social life will come strongly, and we have a spiritual freedom. There will be a spiritual freedom in this country. But again, another of them, the same blood, the same feather, has to go.
Okay.
Yes. There is another that will lead to Anusu Mlingoti.
And who is that?
A Kenyan.
Prominent.
Yeah, bendera inaweza kuteremshwa Mlingoti kwa sababu yako. Ama mimi. Of course it's the club.
Yeah.
Yes. And that one will lead to the total freedom. Kenya will have now total freedom. Yeah, total freedom.
And of course, how if Raila right now, you know, he went at a specific time. I'm a protester at the presidency. I'm protester at the AUC seat. How would Yanu Kiangaleo, if you try to look from that broad aspect of it, ile void ameacha ni gani?
Hakuna void in the spiritual world order. Ameacha void kubwa sana. Because this is now what, like you see, a person like Uhuru going back to the grave, and many other people going back to the grave, because it's like they have been left fatherless. He was the father of these people in the spiritual realm. He was the father of these people. It's like now they were left without a father. They were left orphans. Look at the person like Sunda MP. He's no longer speaking now. Look at the Bandi is always crying everywhere he's going. You saw Kina Ishongwa, Bandi paid Ishongwa to go to the Luo land and wear an ODM hat to go and make noises about this in the ODM. Ruto is going to Mombasa. Sherehe ya ODM. Imefanyika?
Inaendelea uko naendelea
ataenda ama tume watu yake huko. Waende wote watavaa kofia za ODM because there is a vacuum. A spiritual vacuum. Everybody is trying to get it and is not getting it. And also the Luo land will remain fragmented. The Luo land will be split into 3 or 4 angles, and it will go basically towards the counties, the Kisumu County, the Migori County, the Siaya County. They will go that way. Like now we have the Nyeri County, Murang'a County. The way Ruto is trying to separate Murang'a, Kiambu from Mount Kenya. Because they say, you watu wa Kiambu, you don't speak like watu wa Nyeri. You Nyeri, you don't speak like watu wa Murang'a. That kind of a thing. That will play. That will play around. Where Orengo is influential, the people of Orengo will follow him towards where he's gonna go. Where Akina Uburu are influential, they will do the same. Where Akina Gladys Wanga are influential, they will do the same. But of course, watu kama Gladys Wanga, watu kama Uburu, watu kama Junet, watu kama Badi, all those people are in the government. They are going to be extinguished completely from the political scene. They are going to, ODM itasambaratika yote kabisa, kabisa. Lakini kutabaki ka ODM, ka kina Sifuna, ka kina it will be maintained, that has ideologies of Raila, but they won't survive the test of time.
Kufikia hapo, I don't know wewe unafikiria vipi? Wewe unafikiria nini kufikia hapo? Sitaki kuongeza anything ni haribu hii story. Second story of the day. Glory Oruoba is trying to expose again President William Ruto. Nilikuambia nini? William Ruto alijikosea kutoa Rigathi Gachagua. Akajikosea kutoa Justin Muturi. Mintika Linturi. Glory Oruoba. Hao watu wanalilisha William Ruto. Unajua ukiwa one of the inner circle wa serikali, then baadaye serikali ikuchase out, inakuanga imefanya makosa kubwa sana. Utaenda exposing zile secrets ambazo zimekuwa pale ndani, ambazo zimekuwa zikifanyika. Ukiangalia hivi utakuja kuambia wananchi na ifai. Sikiza Glory Oruoba.
Because I need to tell you that the president, William Ruto, he's a liar. Take it from me. Take it from me. Sometimes I listen now to some of the things that he says. I'm like, but you're lying. The other day, he said that his cabinet secretary and his PSs and his team at the ICT ministry went ahead and rushed to get us into some form of partnership to get into the data center industry. And, they didn't do their proper research to find out that, we don't have capacity in terms of power and downtime. And I was like, but you are lying. You are a liar. I have had a one-on-one conversation with you when I was just sworn in, and I was trying to get to be a chair of the ICT committee, and I told you that, in fact, specifically that we need to bring the data center industry to Kenya. And then I said, but we need to work on two things. We don't have capacity on electricity, and we need to understand the whole economics of substations. So when I heard him say that, I'm like, but you are lying. You're feigning ignorance. And that is such a lie. So all these things that he said, in fact, nowadays I look and I'm like, you are a liar.
But Gloria,
you are lying. You are lying about the jobs.
Yes.
You are lying. By the way, the other day he went to Saudi Arabia and he carried the Senate Labour Committee to legitimize his actions. So the Senate Labour Committee, my colleagues, I was seeing them there taking selfies and posting photos on, and I know how much it costs to take a committee to a place. They use over 10 million for sure. And then they came back and said that they've signed a good agreement and Kenyans are going to be protected, they're going to be paid well. I'm like, but you guys are lying. You guys are actually lying. And you guys, the Senate committee, was carried to legitimize a private business that was being discussed. And it has nothing to do with the oversight of the executive. If anything, it is about rubber stamping and endorsing lies.
Looking at the labor export, because that's the crux of the matter. Kenyans have the right to fetch for greener pastures. Kenyans have a right to travel and work elsewhere because, it also builds the economy. We don't have enough jobs. We don't have enough economic activities happening. But the sad bit is that as Kenyans have done that, it turns out that the foreign exchange earner is now the labor export. I think the sad bit is that now the president himself and his family, so to say, are being now mentioned to be part of that whole system. But again, I've had the same president say that they were able to weed out almost 500 rogue agencies.
Wow.
You've had the same.
Ask me about that. When we sat in the Senate, when Alfred Ndura came and said, I'm going to be removed from office, it's because I demanded to see the list of these rogue agencies whose licenses have been declined. Because while he was sitting there saying that they have actually declined licenses for rogue agencies, the guy sitting behind him was rogue agent 001.
Wow.
Who they work together. So if you ask me, the only thing, because they can't give you a list of these rogue agencies, and every time you ask for it, there's always a story.
Why not?
Because the whole idea is to monopolize the system. Is to make sure if this agency XYZ is doing a good job, making sure it's safeguarding Kenyans, making sure that it's negotiating good rates for Kenyans, is to make sure this person who's blocking us from doing business is removed so that us, we can sell Kenyans. And when I say us, I'm talking about what New York Times has listed, not me. I did not say the president is involved in this. It is New York Times that they've done an investigative feature.
Correct.
And It's basically they want to monopolize the space.
I want to hold on to that for a minute, Gloria, because you talk about the fact that this last, I don't know if it was benchmarking or signing of an agreement, whereby we've seen that I think the amount now that Kenyans would be earning, especially Saudi Arabia was 34,000 and some odd shillings was the basic. At least you will not earn less than that if you are leaving the country, which
it has always been,
right? So it seems as though it's a landmark thing that they've arrived at.
It is not a landmark. It has always been.
However, Senator Thangwa was mentioned in this story, and he seemed to have been very surprised that these are some of the things that were going on. Number one, that Kenyans are being mistreated so badly in some of these work conditions, and that they are a woman who, according to her family in Kenya, is living on the street because she's been kicked out for whatever the reason may be. But that shouldn't be the situation. He seemed very surprised. And then also even more surprised that some of these agencies are linked. I mean, come on, Gloria, you must know that some of these agencies are linked to top government officials. They own them. Oh, yes. Not that they have people, they own them. The agencies are theirs. Yeah. How does this work? How do you separate
You need
the
to understand. For a proper parliamentary inquiry, either the National Assembly or the Senate, for an inquiry to come to conclusion, a report has to be tabled. And when I started the Senate inquiry at the Labour Committee about this whole situation, there was panic because these are some of the things that would have been highlighted, that the owners of these agencies are in fact government officials. And now that New York Times has also shown us it's the first family led by the president and the daughter. And at the end of the day, if you look at the inquiry that I started, we only did 2 days of the inquiry. After which the clerk of the Senate, together with all powers that bid, you could literally see the machinery of them shutting down that inquiry. At one point, we had witnesses who had been called in to come and give their testimonies as to who conned them, how. They even had the evidence. That sitting was cancelled by the clerk of the Senate. And every single time now I look back and think about it, I realize what they wanted to find out is how much does she know? And then once you know how much she knows, shut it down. Because if you continue, you see, obviously the witnesses would come, they would talk about it. We had 2 witnesses. There was a gentleman who came and said that, in fact, he has just been rescued from, I don't know whether that is Vietnam, I don't know even which country. So they were afraid that there'd be more witnesses coming in and this thing will become bigger than what it is. And eventually, probably we would have landed where the New York Times landed to find out that, in fact, it is a state-led, massacre.
Okay, so let
me tell you.
I just wanted to be clear on one thing here, is that this company that's allegedly involved here is not that it is an agency said to be owned by the president and his daughter, but that an agency that provides insurance for the labor export agencies. You get what I mean? So that company is what is said to be owned by the president and his daughter.
It doesn't matter which company it is. And in fact, today I'm not here to discuss New York Times. What matters is that even your name as a state officer
featuring there.
Is featuring there. You know? It doesn't matter if it's featuring there about you provided insurance, that you even were the ones selling the tickets to fly to Saudi Arabia. Conflict of interest is right there. And also then it now begs the question, why the hell was that inquiry shut down? Because you see, if your name never featured there, if the name of the president never featured there, or his daughter, or the first lady, or anyone, or any state official, the minister, you know, today we would be talking about how we need to get to the bottom of this, and these people must be arrested, and how these people must be brought to book. But because we all know what happens when you blow the whistle with this administration, you see, there's a very loud silence. In fact, Kenyans have been calling me, those who knew what was happening when I was being hounded from office, they've been calling me and telling me, you know, you've been vindicated. And you know, for us, we are just waiting because we hope that the next government that comes in will hold these people accountable. Alfred Mutua needs to go to jail straight. He needs to go to committee. All these people who've killed Kenyans, because they've killed Kenyans. You know, we are not just talking about sending people to Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
Women are dying in Saudi Arabia.
And others, remember,
others.
they are held in Russia.
There are people who are
because
stuck
of
out
the
there.
Contractual misrepresentation.
And these crimes, they don't have an expiry date. It should not be that, oh, you know, that hiyo kitu ilisha ilikuwa ya last. These people should be held accountable. If there's one thing that I want to champion and that is driving me to go back as an elected leader to parliament, is that these people must be held accountable for every single thing that they've done, for the women they've killed, for their lives that have been lost, for all that money that they have actually literally squandered, stolen through all these corrupt dealings. We in 2027, 2028 maximum, 2028 May, committee should be hot with all these people.
As the inquiry was shaping up, were you privy to the proxies? To the proxy?
I didn't know all of this. When I read this, I'm telling you, Abdi of New York Times sat down with me in May, a few weeks before I was taken out. And he, even when I called him, he said, I remember that MP who came and said, this is the last lunch you're going to have here. Continue doing what you're doing. So these people knew. All these people know because they are all in it. They are all doing business. That's why they will defend this government to the grave, because they are part of the murder. They are part of the stealing. All these nominated senators who are walking around here, you know, trying to defend the murder, the deaths of people in Saudi Arabia, to defend all this corruption, they are part and parcel of it. They have eaten the blood money, and that they are tied. That's why they can't speak up. Because, you know, once you have eaten that money, utaongea ukiwa pande gani?
Well, but then the president tells you as a Kenyan, as a job-seeking Kenyan, that if you get a contract outside, we have negotiated with Germany, for example, because that was very popular at some point. If you land a contract, we are even going to pay for a passport for you to be out within 48 hours. We are going to facilitate your travel. And then it turns out that the same government, because the president speaks as the government, he doesn't speak just as an individual. Then the government itself comes out that it is the one that is running this racketeering scheme. Then where do Kenyans seek refuge? Especially now coming from a parliamentary position. What should Kenyans do?
First of all, Parliament is completely compromised. I've told you. I just walked in with one of my colleagues here coming to defend the murder and the theft of this organization, because our hands are dirty. And this is the stress that the Gen Z had. Because they were like, where are we going to cry? Tutenda kulilia wapi? Kitambo, we used to go to our members of parliament. They would do inquiries. They would call the people. There would be some level of, you know, checks and balances. But now there isn't. Because every single place that a Kenyan should go and be able to seek refuge and say, this is happening to me, has been compromised. Every single institution has been broken down. Look at what EACC is being used to do. Just now I've heard the news, and you're talking about Governor Nyaribo from Nyamira being impeached. Yes, I'm not saying that man is innocent. That man is not innocent. I'm not saying he has not done any wrong things. But if you look at the timings of how these processes are being used, let me say, used as a tool, that if you don't want to play ball with us, I can tell you outright, and not because I support Governor Nyaribo for anything, he needs to be held accountable for all the funds that might have been lost under his watch and whatnot. But the reason they're removing him is not because of that. They're removing him because they've realized today the Star newspaper has the numbers at the front page, and you can see the battleground and whatever. So of course, Star newspaper is not always right, but you can see what is going on there. They're removing him because the deputy governor of Nyamira happens to be UDA. Let me say, happens to be an agent of this rogue government. And so they've realized that Kisii is really, even the 10% they thought they would have, they're not going to get it. So they've realized they must impeach. This Nyaribo guy has refused to play ball with government. Unlike our Kisii county governor, who has outrightly gone to join the government, and that is where me and him parted ways. But the Nyamira governor said, no, he cannot. He's not going to be part of this rogue regime. So they're impeaching him because they need to put in their person. It's all about private businesses, theft. Even the change, you've seen, we're looking for, we need to get a new currency, a 5,000 Kenya shilling note. That's because these State House boys, they've been carrying money. It's becoming impossible to carry money. Those kilos are too many now. They want to compress it to a 5,000 shilling so that they can reduce the kilos. They are stealing money left, right, and center. It has to be stolen in cash to be taken to wherever it's taken. It's proving to be a logistical nightmare to carry these thousands of Kenya shillings around. So now they want to get a 5,000 Kenya shilling note so that they can steal properly ahead of the 2027 election. There's nothing you see in this newspaper is about what you see. It boils down to the money that is being stolen by, let me call this gang. It's a gang.
Yes.
But you know what worries me?
It is a gang that is led by the head of state.
What worries me, though, is that the people who, I mean, it sounds almost, it's moronical.
We're in trouble.
Here we are, and that there are people who are within this circus, and they are the representatives of the people. They see this, by your own admission, are part of this, but continue to perpetuate this condition that, if anything, hurts the people of Kenya as opposed to helping them. So it becomes a contest among just a chosen few who will ensure that they remain in power and they sacrifice the people of Kenya on the altar of their own ambition.
That is what is happening.
And people in governance today representing the people are okay with that.
Not
How do
only
you
are they
explain
okay, they will die defending their thuggery and the murders.
So let me ask, we have international labor laws, especially when you have like a government-to-government agreement that you can
We didn't have government-to-government agreements, by the way.
But it was mentioned by the president.
Alfred Mutua sat
And
in
the
the
CS.
Senate committee, and when I asked about the government-to-government agreement, there are processes and procedures when it's G2G,
Yes.
and he is on record admitting that the things he went to do in Germany, the things he went to do in Saudi Arabia, are actually not government-to-government. He said he